When somebody's missing teeth, there's a couple of reasons why they would want to replace them. One is that aesthetically it may not look so great. Not everybody's concerned with that, but most people are concerned with eating and speaking, eating their food in particular. But some of the things that people don't realize when they're missing teeth is God made us a certain way for all these things to function in a beautifully orchestrated harmony. And so we get 32 teeth as an adult if we get all of them. Most people have their wisdom teeth taken out. So you end up with 28 teeth. Now 28 teeth are enough to function the way that God designed us, which is that the back teeth do the crushing and chewing, which allows us to get the nutrients out of the foods, like vegetables and meats, and then you pulverize that stuff so that it makes it easier for the digestive system to do its work later. So it's the beginning of digestion. And then the front teeth are designed for speaking and ripping and tearing. So what happens is when you lose some of those teeth, from a force standpoint, all the rest of them have to work harder. So you're working the rest of your team, or your soldiers, I usually call them. So if you've got a platoon of soldiers and you're missing 3 or 4 of them, then the other guys have to work a lot harder. So it stresses them and predisposes more wear and more breakage and things like that. So that's one of the reasons that you would want to replace them. But I'll tell you, a really common thing that I see is that a lot of people have just kind of systematically, as a tooth will go bad, they'll have it pulled and they'll come in and they'll see me and they'll have most of their front teeth because they've maybe invested in keeping those, tried to, because it's the front. And I'll hear this, well, it's in the back, I don't need it. But what happens then when they don't have any back teeth is they start doing what the back teeth are supposed to be doing with their front teeth, which is crushing and chewing. And so when you start crushing and chewing with your front teeth, which are designed for ripping and tearing and incising, because they're incisors, it wears them out very quickly. And a lot of times what you'll see is they'll start destroying what they have, and they'll just kind of chip and break and wear them down very, very quickly. Because they're, like I said, they're trying to do one job with the wrong tool. They need these tools in the back. The other reason somebody might want to replace teeth is when you miss a tooth, the teeth on either side will have a tendency to tilt into that space, which can throw the bite off, which once the bite gets thrown off, then it can cause imbalances with the muscle and the joint, which can lead to neck and head pain. The other thing is when you're missing a tooth, the opposing teeth bite against it. Your teeth are like your legs. If your legs are designed to work together as a pair, and your teeth are very similar. People don't think about that either. But when the upper and the lower comes together, you've got to have the mortar and the pestle. You've got to have the top and the bottom. So when you take one out, say you take the bottom tooth out, the upper tooth will start to extrude or start searching for its mate, and so it'll come out. A lot of times you'll look into somebody's mouth and they'll have one tooth that's hanging down or coming up because the tooth opposing it is gone, and so it's trying to equilibrate itself or find its opposing mate, and it's gone, and that can throw the bite off. But when you take one tooth out, you're essentially eliminating 2 teeth because they work in pairs. It's kind of like hopping on one leg. They just don't work the same whenever you take one of the teeth out. So the various methods for people replacing their teeth, there's basically 3 major categories, and those categories include something that would be removable, which would include a full denture, which would replace all your teeth, or a partial denture, and so they snap in and out of your mouth, and depending on the situation, it may be the best thing for that particular person. The second way would be to bridge the space, which means that you would connect to, say you have a space in the front, and you would connect to the teeth that are on either side of that space, put crowns there, but then you bridge the space. And that's a very effective way, and in some cases it's the absolute best way, especially in the anterior, depending on the situation, to aesthetically restore someone and functionally restore them. So that would be something that's cemented in. It does not come in and out, but it involves connecting to other teeth. And the third way, or the third category, would be implants. And implants are wonderful. They're great. They've been around since the 70s. They really have coming closer to being perfected as we've moved into the 90s and the beginning of this century. But an implant is basically a titanium bolt that goes into the bone. It's the same stuff we've been putting in our hips and our knees and other parts of our bodies for years and years and years. It's very safe, very proven. There may be some cosmetic limitations with implants, but for people that can have implants and we can restore their mouth with implants, they're probably the closest thing that we can put back in a person's mouth that is like what God gave us originally, because they look and function very similar to a natural tooth. Now, there may be any combination in some people. In order to restore their mouth, we may need to do a combination of all three of these or two of these. It just depends on the situation.